All right. So thank you for joining this chop. We are here with Joshua Clennon to talk about issues facing Harlemites today. As you know, the chop are interviewing all of the candidates in District 9 for the City Council race. My name is Jordan Stockdale from HireHarlem.
And I am his co-host, Shana Harmongoff. And we are so excited today to have Joshua Clennon with us. Do you go by Joshua or Josh?
Joshua is good.
Joshua. Okay, he's keeping his whole name, Joshua. So thank you for chopping it up with us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So our first question is, we just want the audience to hear your story and to know how it led you to run the City Council today.
Absolutely. So I grew up right here in Harlem. I was a kid who was always very shocked by just the inequality that we had in our city. You take the train, you go south of 96th Street, and it feels like almost like you're living in a totally different world. So I was a kid who grew up, housing insecure, food insecure. I lost my father at a very young age to gun violence. He was shot and killed while actually holding me in his arms. My mother was right there. She had to pick me up. The first thing she did was pick me up and check me for bullet holes. So that was just sort of environment that I grew up in. With the help, the support of my mother and grandmother, they really kept me, focused on school, doing the right things, staying out of the streets. I was blessed to have the opportunity to go away for college to Penn State University, where I graduated with a degree in policy administration. Came back to Harlem because I got some job offers in Pennsylvania, but I really wanted to come back to where I was from, my community, and do some work here. So I came back to Harlem and just saw that the community had changed so much since I had went away to school. I had already experienced gentrification because during the West Harlem rezoning, almost overnight, I saw a lot of my friends, families, and neighbors be displaced from our community, having to move to the Bronx, having to move down south, North Carolina, things of that nature. So I already knew it was an issue, but when I came back from school, it was just like, totally different neighborhood almost, like a lot of people feel today. From that on, I had it set in my mind that I needed to get involved in our local politics, figure out what was going on in our community and how I could make an impact. Long story short, I started interning with Congressman Rangel at the time. I learned about the community boards, all of our local government, got involved with the Young Democrats of America, started working in affordable housing because I saw that as the biggest need in terms of our constituency, what people were constantly complaining about. So I started working at affordable housing, managing HDFCs in our community, low income housing cooperative, just to make sure that residents had long-term affordability and also are able to maintain equity, because HDFCs in our community are, struggling. They're going into foreclosure, and a lot of them are being mismanaged by larger management companies or even sometimes by the shareholders within the buildings themselves. So I've been doing that work for about 7 years now, and serving on the community board as treasurer now, chair of the district needs task force, and just knowing our community, knowing the moment that we're in, it really drove me to where I'm at now, running for city council, because I think we need leadership that really understands the issues in our community, really understands the community itself, and has the experience to really address them, can put some public policy to really make some widespread change, and really make sure that our community is not displaced long term.
So you talked a lot about a lot. So I want to know, how does your story relate to your campaign platform?
Absolutely. So I think it relates in everything in terms of just me growing up. I saw my mom struggle to pay rent. A couple of times we were evicted. So when people right now during COVID, we have residents throughout New York City that owe collectively over $1 billion to landlords. And right now there's no plan of how we're going to address this when the moratorium is closed. So just understanding these issues from this perspective of the individuals involved, but also from the real estate perspective, knowing that we cannot just cancel rent, we need to bail out these renters. We need to raise revenue to make sure that we can pay off the rent of every person in our city, not only just to make sure that they stay in those homes, but to also preserve the quality of housing in our city. Just understanding that issue, the economic perspective of me currently being a small business owner, and we're in a city where only 2% of businesses are Black owned. Understanding that struggle, the struggles that small businesses, particularly Black businesses, go through with trying to do business with the city. Even the environmental justice aspect of understanding that we are living in a community right now that's sort of a dumping ground for bus depots, for addiction treatment centers. We need elected officials who are going to make sure that services are equally distributed throughout our city so that people have access to these services in their own neighborhoods, while also making sure that no one community becomes a dumping ground and has all these quality of life issues as a result of it.
Powerful.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so this question we didn't have on the list, but just hearing your story and hearing how you think about things, I'm just really curious to hear your plan to reduce gun violence, if that's something that you focused on within your platform.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in terms of public safety, I think the best way that we can address gun violence is getting our youth off the street in terms of giving them jobs, giving them career development, getting them trained in trades, getting them organized into unions, getting them really engaged in some of these emerging industries. So one of our proposals to do that is to expand the summer youth employment program. We want that to be a year-round program so that young adults, teenagers can get year-round training, get career development, because that's what we need as a community. We don't need jobs for one season. We need jobs year-round. We have the highest levels of unemployment in all of Manhattan. And until we get our kids off the street, we won't see a curve in gun violence.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So my next question that we want to say to you is, because you talked about affordable housing and all that's gentrification is taking place, but what's your plan to ensure that there is affordable housing?
Absolutely. So working in housing, I know that every year the city forecloses on a lot of housing throughout our city. And much of this housing goes into programs such as third-party transfer, MIH, where city-owned land now goes into the hands of sometimes for-profit developers who take these properties and they create rent stabilized housing that, as we know, they aggressively work to destabilize. With MIH, they create housing they rezone areas of our city and create housing that's 75% market rate and only 20% affordable. And then sometimes the affordability metrics doesn't even match up to the needs of people in our community because the AMI is just not, it doesn't encompass the actual income of true New Yorkers. It encompasses people in Rockland County and Westchester, et cetera. So what I think our proposal is to end these programs, terminate these programs, stop the practice of giving away public land to for-profit developers. We need to give our land back to people in the community in the form of community land trusts. We just had a new community land trust that has been developed in East Harlem. I think that's a model that we can continue to replicate throughout Central Harlem and Northern Harlem. In addition to that, we need to create more project-based Section 8 housing to ensure that people have long-term affordable housing, subsidies, et cetera. We also need to create more home ownership opportunities in the forms of new HDFCs, new cooperatives, to give people in our community a chance at home ownership, a pathway into the middle class.
So on that note, you mentioned that you're a small business owner. I would love to hear more about your small business, as well as how do we protect the businesses that exist in Harlem right now? How do we ensure that our small businesses are still here next year?
Absolutely. So our small business was really born out of the need. It was my grandmother who actually came up with the idea to start our business after she had basically retired and purchased a cooperative in Harlem. Stopped becoming a renter. She had the opportunity to purchase a cooperative, and she had worked in Abyssinian Development Corporation for years, so she really understands housing. It taught me a lot about what I know about community development and housing today. And she found that, her HFC was being totally mismanaged. They weren't filing taxes. They were paying contractors, and contractors weren't performing the work. They had been fined for the IRS because they weren't doing payroll taxes, things, so it was a whole mess. So the more she got involved with the board and trying to fix the issues that the building had, she found that so many other HFCs in the community also had these issues and needed these services. So that's how our business got started. And since then, that's been our entire mission is helping our HFCs in our community. What we see right now, what's really affecting small businesses here in Harlem, is that because Harlem has become such a desirable community and neighborhood now, we see a lot of landlords are now pushing out our small businesses. They're jacking up the rent arbitrarily. Some of them are holding out for some of these corporate franchises to come in and take up their space. So it's really becoming an economic climate that is, it's unsustainable for small businesses right now. So what we're proposing and what we're supporting is to pass in the city council the Small Business Jobs and Survival Act, Justice and Survival Act, to make sure that small businesses cannot be arbitrarily displaced, that if they do have a dispute with the landlord, that dispute goes into arbitration, and that a solution is decided upon in arbitration to give small businesses opportunities to really stay in their community, to continue to serve their community, so that we're not just arbitrarily displacing them and we're not just pushing them out just to entice these corporate franchises to come in. And I think that also goes hand in hand with rezoning and land use, which is, one of the most critical functions that the city council works on. We have to make sure that new rezonings in our community do not displace our small businesses. We saw that with Lenox Terrace with that rezoning proposal, which included, 2-story commercial big box retail space that would have decimated probably the small businesses in that local area. We need to be very vigilant about that. I don't think we should wait for developers who often aren't from our community to come in here with these proposals and try to tell us what our community should look like. I think in the city council, we should be doing a comprehensive, community-driven land use survey to really understand the needs of our entire district, to make a long-term plan with community input, to make sure that we're planning long-term to utilize land use in a way that really benefits the people living here now. In addition to that, we're making sure that we're proactively looking for opportunities to create affordable housing and create more subsidized commercial space for businesses.
Great plan. So I want to know, what groups are you excited to work with should you be the next city councilman?
Well, I'm excited to work with everyone, really. I'm willing to work with anyone who's really trying to do anything to benefit the people of Harlem. Whether that's, the Harlem Chamber of Commerce, Harlem Arts Alliance, Harlem Park to Park, National Urban League, National Action Network, Cure Violence Group, Street Corner Resources, WARM. I want to work with obviously our community-based organizations here who do, vital work for our community. I want to support them. I want to open opportunities for more funding for them so they can expand their reach and their services to people in our community. So anybody, really.
That's powerful. No, I've really enjoyed this interview and enjoyed how in depth you go on the policy. I think that's quite powerful in your grasp of all the information. So just a question before we go into the fun lightning round. And how do we preserve, the Harlem culture? What is the Harlem culture? What is Harlem?
What is Harlem? That's a great question. Because I'm sure you ask different people, they'll tell you different answers. But to me, I love Harlem for what it is, the good and the bad. I love the dirt bikes in the summer. I love the street vendors, the African markets. I love everything about here. If it was up to me, I wouldn't change a thing. I think the best way to preserve the culture of Harlem is to really, by protecting our seniors, you know, we need senior housing. We need more care for our seniors to make sure that they're living quality lives throughout their entire lives. I think we need to invest in our youth. You know, our youth are so dynamic, and, you know, they have so much potential, and they just need that space to really be able to thrive and really showcase their talents. You know, we got so many musicians, young artists in Harlem. You know, everybody that I grew up with is an artist in our community. So, you know, I know that there's so much talent. We just need to be able to harness and foster it and give them a space to really showcase it. So yeah, those are the things I think we really need to do. And, you know, first and foremost, we need to make sure that people can stay here long term. If our community continues to be become gentrified with market rate luxury housing, you know, all of that talent won't be here anymore. We lose all that. You know, we just become like, no shade, but we become like downtown, like midtown, you know, boring, commercial. So that's not what I want for Harlem.
So now we are going to move it into the light. Well, wait, before we get into that, how can people get involved with your campaign?
Absolutely. So people can get involved with our campaign by going on our website, joshuaclennon.com, signing up to volunteer. You can email us at info@joshuaclennon.com, or just me directly at joshua@joshuaclennon.com. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, again, at Joshua Clennon.
Thanks, Joshua.
Oh, go ahead, get us into the
Okay,
lightning round.
so now we're going to get into the lightning round and just asking you fun questions. So, bodega with a cat or without a cat? You might be too young for this. I don't know.
I remember this bodega that had a Chihuahua, and the Chihuahua used to chase me out the store every day. That's where
okay, so you too young for to know about the cat. Then okay, okay. You're telling your age. You're telling your age if you're talking about a Chihuahua. We talking about a cat here. Okay, there used to be. I guess I'm telling my age. Growing up, going to the bodegas, there was cats. And not just one cat, there were multiple cats,
2, 3 cats
in the bodega. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll settle for the Chihuahua.
Hey, that's all right, Joshua. We the young millennials out here. It's all right. I still don't know how to use technology though. So. All right, chopped cheese or Philly cheesesteak?
Oh, chopped cheese. Come on.
Chopped cheese? Okay.
Come on.
He's talking about, come on. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation.
Why that?
So I can be wherever I want to be, like this, you know?
What's your favorite Harlem movie?
Definitely Juice. Juice is a classic.
Walk, train, bus, or taxi?
If it's short, I'll walk, but if it's long, I'll probably take the subway.
All right, last silly question. Bruce Leroy or Bruce Lee?
Oh, you know, Bruce Lee is a legend to me, but if you're gonna put Bruce Leroy into this, man, I gotta take Bruce Leroy. My guy had too much, like he had too much swag.
He had too much swag. So thank you so much, Joshua, for chopping it up with both myself and Jordan. This was truly a fun interview, and I was able to see who you are, because I didn't really know who you were just via community board, but just talking to you now and getting to learn more about you was very interesting, and it was fun. And so thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. It was an honor to sit here and talk with you guys about these issues. They're very important to our community. And I hope to engage with you all in the future.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.